Last week we ended the week by creating an image with a square, an image with a wedge, and then saving your 10 symbols for your personal narrative. I'm going to review those steps first and then walk you through your final project. To create the wedge image, we're first going to open Image from Computer. You should have saved in your H drive your 6-part circle, and we're going to open that back up. Using the eraser tool and a brush with a hard edge, I'm going to erase all but one of those wedges. Whoops. Remember, Control Z will undo. Once you have all but one wedge erased, use the Paint Bucket tool to select a color of your choice. Double click on that square to change colors and fill in the space. Then you're welcome to go to File, Save. We're actually going to name it Wedge. Always saving as either a JPEG or a PXD file. And it is saved. Next, we're going to create a new image to create our square. And because we want it to be a square, I'm going to change the width and height to match. If you didn't do this last week, not a huge deal, don't worry about it. But for those of you who haven't done it yet, you want the width and height to be the same. Now that they're the same, I can use my fill tool, so I got the color I like, and fill the whole space. Once I have that done, I can change the canvas size to something larger. And I have my square in that space. Yeah, it's up in the corner, not a big deal. It's fine. That is first step done. Now I'm going to begin to compile all of my symbols onto those shapes that I created. You can either put all of them in both or divide them up so you have 5 in one, 5 in the other, 6 in one, 4 in the other, however you choose. I'm going to start by opening an image from Computer, and I'm going to open the wedge first. This is what it looks like if you just open that wedge and start adding pictures. You can see it is incredibly pixelated along the edges. It's not nice and smooth. There's this kind of grainy look around it. It's out of focus. So what we're going to do, definitely not save that. What we're going to do is when we open that wedge, we're going to use the magic wand tool to select the color you have on the interior. Remember, Control C is copy. Then we're going to create a whole new image. You know what, radial tessellation. And look how small that wedge is, 100 by 117. We want it closer to 1000 by 1000. And we'll say, okay. So now I'll paste that wedge on there, and it's tiny. What we need to do is transform that, hold the Shift button down so it stays 1/6 of a circle. And we're just going to stretch that and move it so it fills up roughly 1/6 of this space. And up here in the corner, I'm going to zoom out a little bit just to make sure that I have at the top edge and I have enough space at the bottom edge. Now, while I have this here, if I zoom in really far, are really close. You can see that it gets quite pixelated along the edge. We're not going to worry about that for now. When we have this all radiated around, those edges aren't going to be as visible. There's going to be other stuff to look at. Alright, so I went through and did these gradient tools, but I forgot that I need to do something else first. So what we actually want to do first is use our lovely dovey lasso tool. Because to make this a true tessellation, we need all these pieces to fit together like a puzzle. Not like you could take a chunk from your neighbor and put it in yours. You want it to be unique. So what you're going to do is select on this lasso tool here. Fantastic tool to use. And you're going to start on the left-hand edge and just draw some kind of shape into your wedge. And you don't want it to be to go over the edge this way. You just want it to go about halfway into the wedge. You draw from edge to edge and let go, and that'll create a straight line along the left-hand side of your wedge. Once you have that, you're going to actually cut that using Control X. Now once I've done that, I'm going to kind of clean this up just a tiny bit where it cut it off. Not too much though, it's just because it's a small line that I'm going to do that. Control V will then paste that same shape back on. Now what you need to do is twist that shape, which apparently is going to be quite difficult to do. Don't know why. And then move it so that it lines up with the space that you took it off of. Alright, so if we rotated this back, if we were able to rotate it from a center point here, it would rotate right back into the space we took it from. So that has completely changed the look and shape of my wedge. If I use the magic wand tool to select this, you know what, we need to merge. Go to layer 3 and merge down so it is together with layer 1. Now if I were to select this, Control C to copy and V to paste, and color that a different circle, you'll see that those two pieces can fit together like a puzzle. Okay? That's just a visual of what they'll look like once they're put together. We're not actually going to use that piece. We are, however, going to use this piece. And the first thing I'm going to do to it is make the color a little bit more interesting. I don't want just a blank color. I actually really like a gradient on there. So what I'll do is use the magic wand tool to select that space. Then my gradient is still selected here. And actually, let's go radial. I'm going to pull that to give this a nice radial gradient. And then deselect it. Now I already have all of my logos, symbols selected. To do this, you're going to do the exact same thing that you did when you had your favorite things project, where you open each image. You shouldn't have to erase the backgrounds, but you're selecting just the logo. Now if you have an image of a place or something that doesn't have a background, you just select and paste the whole thing. It's just if you have this white background that you don't want, that you would not, you just select around it. Again, to do that, it's the magic wand tool. Hold shift down, and then you can select inside of any white spaces, the insides of letters. Control C will copy, Control V will paste. Undo that. What did I forget to do? I forgot to edit, invert selection. Always make sure you invert your selection. Control C to copy, Control V to paste. There we go. Now here's the tricky part. You can put all of your images on here, but you don't want them to go beyond the edges of your shape. To remedy this, you'll get them in place, and you can either free transform them smaller, hold the shift button down, so that they fit in the space. You can turn, twist, maneuver, finagle them so they fit in the space. Or, if they go beyond, you can just take your handy dandy eraser tool, zoom in, probably not that much, zoom in and just erase where it goes beyond the shape. Okay, and a little bit of this, like you don't want to erase entire words so you can't tell what your logo is, but a little bit of this and it'll actually make your image a little bit more interesting. It'll help with the flow of it. So I think we're able to see here enough of the logo to know that it's JRPS, Grand Rapids Public Schools. We don't need to actually see what's written below. And you can see as I zoom in that it has this nice blue around the edge. Don't worry about that at all. It's going to actually add to the interest later. So I'm going to pause the video while I add in and rearrange my other shapes, and I'll pick it back up before I copy and paste to rotate them. This is just a reminder too, if you need to be able to see your shape below this, choose your toggle bar and actually rename your layers. That'll help a lot too, so you always know which one you're dealing with. But as you select on the layer, choose your toggle and change the opacity, and then that way you're able to erase just through to your shape and not actually over your shape. And if at any point you need to leave this project for any time, save it as a PXD. That will save your layers so you can move them again later if you have to.